Candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with Abeg Vex Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode. Today, you're going to learn a few things. If you have an inclination for business, this is the episode for you, because today I have the honor of having Mr. Arias WebsterBerry with us. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing amazing. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So Mr. Arias is an entrepreneur, an author, and also a digital marketer. So if you've ever thought about dipping your toes in any of those fields, this is one episode that you really do want to listen to. I know I'm interested because, again, these areas also are of interest to me. So Arias, welcome.
Thank you. It is a beautiful day here in Dallas, Texas.
I bet. We are experiencing winter, but that's okay. It's expected. So let's talk about your journey to entrepreneurship. Was there something that always kind of nagged at you to go into entrepreneurship, or is something that happened by accident?
No, actually, I got it honestly. I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a kid. I grew up in the 90s, right? 90s, early 2000s, where you had all these landmark entrepreneurs. You had the Steve Jobs who, absolutely revolutionized music and communication and computers. At the time, you had Diddy, who was a huge music mogul, and you had Donald Trump at the time, who was everybody, knew him as this brash and real estate magnate and all these different things. And these guys were rock stars in their own right when it came to business. And it was a special era. Before then, a lot of CEOs stood behind their brand. You know the brand, but you don't really know much about the CEO. And they were a new breed. And that was attractive to me. I thought it was awesome. And I wanted to be that from an early age.
Beautiful to hear. So in all of these men that you've mentioned, the one thing that you mentioned, Diddy, who, again, did his thing in music when he did his thing, regardless of the controversies now, that's the representation there was just him. Were you ever concerned about not seeing a lot of men that look like you in that space? Like recently that has changed, and it's a beautiful thing to behold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, men like you are stepping up to show little boys who may look like you what is possible. Was there ever a concern, like, I don't see a lot of people in this space that looks like me, or I want to be the difference in this space?
Yeah, the quintessential view of a CEO is a old white man. And, I grew up with that, but I was fortunate to have the Diddys, the Jay-Z's of the world, the Russell Simmons, Reginald Lewis, right? You have all of these guys that kind of came up in the late 90s, early 2000s, where there weren't a lot of them, but there were a few, and it gave me hope that that was possible. And I mean, entrepreneurship is a big thing now.
Right.
But it is still, when it comes to Fortune 500 companies, the amount of Black CEOs is very small in comparison to the overall. But I believe that every day that somebody starts a company, they do well and they provide a great customer experience, even with our business, that we maybe are the same thing for someone else, right? Some kid who's sitting maybe watching this may say, okay, he seems like a normal person. He doesn't seem special in any way. Maybe I can do this too.
All right. I love it. So what is the secret sauce to that success where it worked for you and you're hoping somebody listening to this will apply that? Because starting a business is not easy. Maintaining a business is not easy. And also looking to thrive in an industry that may not have that much representation. However, you're looking to make the difference in that industry for people who are looking for that inspiration. What was the one thing for you that kept you going, got you successful, and still keeps you going?
I would probably say I'm a little different because I just have a internal grind, right? I have huge goals. I don't need a lot of external motivation. I don't need you to call me and remind me to do something or to reach higher. And a lot of people do, and that's fine. But I think that the biggest thing is my why. And for any entrepreneur that's looking at it, you need a why, and it has to be extremely strong, and it has to be beyond monetary for two reasons. One, if your why is just, I need to make a certain amount of money, I want to buy a house, I want to buy a car. Well, once you achieve those things, your motivation evaporates and you typically plateau. But also, if it's not something big like, hey, I want a house or a car, or I'm trying to maybe go on a trip or whatever, right? When times get tough and when it takes longer than you thought it would, when you don't see or hit the goals that you thought that you would, without a strong why, an intangible, something that's internal to drive you, then you're most likely not going to fight through it. If you have something that is extremely important, extremely personal, extremely emotional to you, then when adversity presents itself, which it always will, especially in entrepreneurship,
Right.
you will forge ahead. You will dig down deep and you will stay up late. You'll get up early and you'll fight through whatever issue or hurdle is in front of you.
Absolutely. And I think that is the one thing that people don't usually bargain for, that not happening when you thought it would happen, when it's taking longer. What has that journey and coming to grips with that reality been like for you? Because for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's where they quit. Because yes, I have this vision, I have this goal, and I have this timetable set for myself of achieving this goal because that person, and the other person achieved the same goal. However, when it doesn't happen in that time frame, it's a big blow to the egotistical aspect of ourselves.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you, having to persevere in that framework where it didn't happen when you thought it should have materialized?
It's an ongoing battle. I've been a millionaire since I was 15. It just took a little while for my bank account to catch up. I always knew that I was going to be successful. I just thought that it would come a lot faster. And when I was younger, my early 20s as an entrepreneur, I would, start a venture or a company and I wouldn't hit the goals or it would flop and I would be mortified. It took a huge, what you said, ego. My ego took a very hard hit. And a lot of times it took me a very long time to try something again, years at some points. And that stunted my growth. It elongated the amount of time it took for me to find the thing that I was really good at. It kept me from providing my talents and gifts to the world because I was so hurt. My ego was so wounded. So now when I talk to people, I tell them it's going to take longer than you think.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But that's why you need that why. You're not going to see all the success that you think. Stop measuring yourself against your favorite basketball player or entrepreneur, or whoever's big in the space or arena you're trying to play in. Don't use them as the measuring stick because you're looking at them 10, 15, 20 years down the road at their best. And you're judging yourself against them at the very beginning of your story at your worst, right? So you need to set your goals, realize that you may not hit the goals that you want in the time frame that you want to hit them and be okay with that, but get up every day and get back after it.
Absolutely. That snapback is very important. And sometimes, like you said, we get in our own ways when we get in our feelings and like that ego, that bruised ego when it comes to failing at something or not having something materialize, what has that taught in the time that you thought it would or at all? What has that taught you?
It has taught me that is part of the process. Just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that you are in process. It means that you're getting closer, right? Growing up in America, the stories that you hear about everyone who's successful seems like it's overnight. And some people do have overnight success. The first time they tried something, it went crazy, or, the first 6 months and now, they're rich and famous. But for the rest of us mortals, that's not the case. And the reality is the greatest of us, those that are seen as the GOAT, the greatest of all time, typically failed more than anybody else. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. Who can imagine that? The Beatles were told that they were not good at music at all. This guy told them to their face, a record exec. And they became, the band to have the most number one hits ever on Billboard. Time after time, the people that we know as the greatest in their industry are typically that because they failed more and more often than everybody else around them.
Absolutely. That goes back to that internal grind, believing in yourself. I think societal ideation of motivation is very extrinsic, like on the outside, not inward. That's why people's opinions bother us quite a bit. What do you think about you? Talking about opinions, how important and failure in the journey through entrepreneurship, how important do you think it is for an entrepreneur to mentor and be real about the journey? Because again, what social media portrays is the glitz and the glamour, right? The overnight success. It's so easy to do this. If you don't do it, you're lazy, right? So how important is it to tell the truth about the journey, the reality of the journey, so that people don't have unrealistic expectation of what this journey really is?
Speaking to myself and for myself, that's one of the things that took me the longest to learn. Is a true authenticity is about being honest about your wins, but more importantly, your failures. Nobody wants to watch a movie that the guy gets started, he immediately wins, he meets the girl of his dreams, buys a big house, sports car, and rides off into the sunset. It's like that. I mean, great for you, man, but I can't relate. So, people need the drama. They need the struggle. Every story has a beginning, middle, and end. And every day that you're living, you're telling your story. And I didn't know that it was okay to be vulnerable about my losses, right? To be vulnerable about my struggles. And that's what bonds people to you, right? That's what makes them see themselves in you. That what makes them trust you is because you've experienced, some failures, some loss, some struggle. Because most of your clients, most of the people that you want to help, they're in a state where they're struggling with something. They have a problem and they're looking for you to solve it. And if you can be honest about where you came from and what challenges you had or are having, right, they're more likely to believe that you can solve their problem because you truly understand where they're coming from.
Right. And talking about minds, is it advisable that an entrepreneur at any point in their journey surround themselves with like-minded people? And what is the detriment of surrounding yourself with people that are not on the same journey as you are, who may at that very vulnerable moment where you're experiencing having to recalibrate? Because that's how I see, if something fails in business, is a point for me to stop and recalibrate. Why did this not work? What should work? And that point is very crucial depending on the people you have around you, right? So it can either fill you up or deplete you. So how important is it for an entrepreneur to surround themselves with like-minded people, or people on the same journey or understand the journey?
I mean, it's everything. If you surround yourself with people, or if you walk into a room of people who have a cold, you're most likely going to get a cold. If you surround yourself with people who are wealthy, the conversations and the information you're going to come into contact with is going to change your worldview, change your perspective and your understanding of what's possible. So it's absolutely critical, especially for an entrepreneur, to surround yourself with people who have big ideas, who have big dreams, who have even bigger hustle, and they pull up a mirror to who you are, what you're doing, and more importantly, who you're not and what you're not doing, right? They give you some contrast and some perspective of what's possible. Mentors are critical in this, finding someone who's in your industry, who's a little further down the road, or maybe someone who's just generally in business if you're an entrepreneur, and being careful who you share your dreams with. A lot of times we take the people who are closest to us and we want to share everything with them. And we forget that the people who really care about you, they don't typically care about your dreams and your goals as much as they care about you. So when you go to them and you complain about a client or how hard your business is, or, the struggles that you're having, they want to alleviate the pain, not motivate you to keep going. So many times they may say things to help you with that instead of giving you the fuel you need to continue to push forward. So it's important for you to be careful who you share your dreams with. Make sure that you're around people who have struggled and succeeded, so that they can say, hey, yeah, I've been through that exact same thing and it was really tough. I'm not going to lie to you, but I came through the other side, and I feel like you can do the same thing.
Absolutely. That is so true. Your loved ones are there to protect you. And failure is seen as the big boogeyman, but it's actually a teaching opportunity. And talking about teaching, surrounding yourself with people that, are further along your journey, how important is it for an entrepreneur to be coachable and teachable?
I mean, you're not going to grow if you cannot take unsolicited advice sometimes, which is criticism, and if you cannot seek advice. You absolutely, I mean, entrepreneurship is not an exact science, especially if you're building something that hasn't been built before, if you're trying to do something completely different, or if you're trying to innovate, which a lot of entrepreneurs are, not all, but a lot. And in doing so, since there's no roadmap, you have to find someone who's going to give you some input, and you need to be receptive to that. I'm dealing with younger entrepreneur now. They've been in entrepreneurship for maybe 3 or 4 years. And one of their advisors has been in business for 20 years. And I've been in business for 15 years. But this person doesn't listen to us. And I'm like, you're the one with the least experience of either of us. You've made the least money out of each of us. You've had the least number of wins and failures out of either of us. You would think that you would look to them for guidance and have them help you bypass some simple mistakes.
Right.
But, that's that growth and fixed mindset. And as an entrepreneur, you are most likely going to win if you have a growth mindset, one that's malleable, one that's dynamic, one that's receptive to information. Because I always tell people, innovate or die, right? If you do not change your position, if you're not looking to make sure that you are not about to get hit by something, you move out of the way, or you learn to ride the impending wave, you are going to be a victim instead of a victor.
Absolutely. That is so good. Innovate or die. And, that was very apparent during the 2020 pandemic, especially in the restaurant industry. A lot of restaurateurs who adapted to the shutdown and everything that was surrounding that were able to come out on the other side during the pandemic. However, restaurants that were very traditional in the way they service did have a significant financial burden. And that was just sad to see. So thank you for that piece of advice. And you're new entrepreneurs, because, you see entrepreneurs at different ages getting into the journey. I think newer entrepreneurs have this ideology. I call it getting married to the idea, right? They're so married to their idea that any advice or redirection or coaching that could take them out of the vision they had in their head of this idea is usually like trying to break somebody from a relationship, a toxic one at that, right? It's like, okay, this is your baby, I understand. However, the market does not support that. So
I need you to read the room, player. Look, this ain't it. I'm gonna need you gotta move around.
Absolutely. It takes learning, and some people learn faster than others. That's the one thing that, yes, I learned along the journey. I wish I had a mentor. This is why I value having this conversation, because even if somebody cannot have a mentor in their immediate geographical area, they can listen and then follow a person on social media, because there's a lot we can learn from people that have already done the thing that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? So even if I cannot afford your mentorship program, right, at least those little nuggets that you drop in your group, I can little by little implement them and grow. So thank you for that. And if you're listening to this and you're new in business, find your mentor. And if somebody invests enough to give you advice, take it. Listen, there's a reason for it. So if they've had at least a year in the business longer than you, they know a thing or two more than you do. So I'm just saying. So Aries, walk us through your journey, please. So when you started, what business did you start? Where are you with that business? And how has that business grown and transformed?
I mean, there's my current agency, WebsterBerry Marketing. I started the business with a buddy of mine. It was a whole different name. And we started with just simple graphics and, building some Wix sites and stuff. And it grew tremendously. We eventually got into doing Instagram growth. We had built programs and things in order to help people grow their Instagram organically, but we were forcing the organic traffic, forcing people to see their profiles and making it so that people would follow back. And that was great. That was our first real hit. We started seeing 6 figures a month. That was that first time. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
When the money comes, it comes fast and, with friends. It was great. But it was also one of my greatest losses because we didn't innovate. We didn't diversify. We didn't figure out how to get onto other platforms, and we didn't cross-sell. We didn't get them into other product lines. So when Instagram changed their algorithm in their terms of service, our business evaporated in like 45 to 60 days, right? Wow. So we went from 6 figures to 1,000 or 2,000 a month. And it was tough. Again, one of those times where you take your ego is bruised, right. Your sense of what you know as your business acumen and all of your plans and designs for the future come to a screeching halt, because so does the money. But it also taught me that I can handle it, right? Eventually I dusted myself off. We focused on other product lines. I ended up buying out my business partner. I ended up rebranding. We've come up with all kinds of products and services now. My team is, we got a team of 20 people. Nice. We've grown. And, if I would have said, well, I guess this is God's way or the universe's way of telling me that I'm not good at this entrepreneurial thing, well, then I wouldn't have all of the amazing clients that I have now. We wouldn't be helping them, their businesses. I wouldn't have 20 people whose families I'm supporting and taking care of, and life will look very different. So it's just realizing that, again, just because you fail doesn't mean you're a failure. You just got to get up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
Beautiful. So when it comes to your business, because it's digital marketing, is there a particular niche that you focus on, or are you diverse in your client base?
We're very diverse. We have a very large hotel chain as a client. We've had them for quite a while. We have an international luxury travel brand as a client. We have liquor companies that are produced in whole other countries. We have solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, individual stylists like hairstylists, and everything in between. Marketing is the same no matter what you sell or whether you're business to business or business to consumer.
Right. So is there, given that you mentioned all these big, beautiful brands that are making quite a bit of money globally and nationally, do you have, say, a scale depending on what the size of the company and their profit margin and how you charge? Or is it like a uniform price? Because if you're mentioning solopreneur, entrepreneur, coaches, and, say, tutors or whatever, those group of people may not have the financial wherewithal to afford what the international hotel brand may afford, or the liquor company. So do you have like a scale of what you charge people based on that?
So we have kind of some of our simple products. So like Social Authority is a new product that we just released, which is a blend between public relations and social media management. That's real simple. We've got like 3 packages. They have their prices. For a larger company, they would want us to maybe do that. But, our little packages, they're like, we need 10 times that. Yeah. So
Right.
one of our packages is like 40 pieces of content, and we'll get you on podcast and get you published in some magazines. And they're like, yeah, we need 400 pieces of content, and we need you to get us on Good Morning America. And, I need you to negotiate with CNN and we're like, okay, yeah, that's going to take a little more time. Some more. So in those, we typically do more of a consultative and custom package for larger clients. But our goal is to get into, and honestly, I've told my team, we're looking at the blue ocean of boring businesses, right? I've dealt with plenty of founders and, all these guys who got a brand new app idea and it's going to change the world and, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's great. And you could be the next Amazon and all that stuff.
Yeah.
However, I would love to just have 1,000 mechanic shops, or dentists that make plenty of money. They pay their bills on time. They don't really care about being the most viral company on the internet. They just want some customers to come to their door, and they want to know that, stuff is being posted and that they've got some leads. That's what we're more focused on right now. Instead of going after these really large companies that are a pain in the butt, instead of going after these new companies that their founders and their board are divas looking for, the guy who's been at his office for 28 years, has a whole bunch of ear hair and pays his bills religiously. That's what I need in my life.
That is refreshing. Arias, I have to give it to you. That is so refreshing, because when you talk to digital marketing agencies, they're going for the shiny new toy, right? And there are people that are not worried about the virality of things. However, they want to push their message enough that, the right people find their businesses, come to patronize the business. I'm all into attracting marketing. I dislike cold anything. However, I do understand it's part of the process. So just in your expertise, break this down for the listeners. So I talked about virality, and virality doesn't always equal sales. I'm just saying, right?
It usually doesn't. I'm going to be honest. We've had lots of things that we've created that's gone viral. Just because people watch it does not mean they want to give you their money. I'm going to be honest.
Absolutely.
Right.
So virality doesn't equal sales. And let's talk about the difference between attractive marketing and cold marketing. And maybe they have the same results, but, from your expertise, I'd like for you to, one, educate me and also educate our listeners.
Yeah, it's a rare moment when a viral thing also creates like viral money, right? It's very rare. And that's typically not because you just are amazing at creating content. It's usually you've created so much and you got that one piece that kind of took off, out of 100 pieces of content or 400 pieces of content, you had one that took off and, you struck gold. I believe that the shiny stuff, the all these stories of people who make millions of dollars on TikTok, doing dances and all this crap. If you're an entrepreneur and you're really trying to do this thing, it's more about consistency than anything. Long-term commitment to, showing up, to providing value, and to analyzing your results. And a pro tip, give your audience a pro tip, doing the work around your content is more important than the content itself. So, I coach entrepreneurs and it never fails. I have them come in, they go through the content cannon process, they start producing content, they put it out, and then they're like, nobody liked it. It was like 5 likes. No one commented. I got 400 people that watched it, but nobody comments. Why won't anybody comment? It means it's not good. This one girl's in the same industry. She gets like 20,000 views and everybody likes it in comments. And it's like, okay, but how much money is she making? Just because people like your stuff doesn't mean you're actually making money. Me personally, I would be content with being the most unpopular marketing company on the planet, but the wealthiest, right? In the consistency of doing things, you learn what your audience likes, you learn how to add value. And we also forget that every single view is typically a person, right? Like you don't need 20,000 customers typically, right? It would be nice, but focus on one customer. Focus on trying to convert the one person who liked it. Have you ever thought that if they liked it, maybe you should acknowledge that they liked it? Send them a DM or comment on that post and say, hey, John, I appreciate you liking my post. You'd be like, yeah, no problem, man. Now you got a dialogue, have a conversation, about your product or about your services, but you've opened the lines of communication. And when I talk about doing the things around it, that's one of them. But also you spend all this time creating content. Have you ever thought to take the content and tell people that you've published content? Like you have a phone full of numbers. You have an email like that you've had since like high school that's full of every person that you've ever emailed. Do you email all those people and tell them that you have a new video on YouTube or that you put out a new TikTok? You got a bucket full of cards from every networking event that you've ever been to, right? Have you reached out to any of those people and tell them that you have new content, right? It's less about, even on social media, people will post something and they don't share it with people. They think, well, I posted it, they should see it. No, they shouldn't. They're not. The platforms are designed specifically to not show your content to everybody. Why? Well, because if they did that, they couldn't charge you to show it to more people. So if you take the time to, instead of just creating more crap, focus on the crap that you've already made, right? You got a family group chat, right? They're always posting videos in various, they're posting everybody else's crap other than yours. Why don't you put your crap in the family group chat and let them watch it and like it and tell them to share it? You're in a group chat with your sorority sisters or fraternity brothers or that one group from forever ago or some trip you went on, post your crap in there, right? You have access to all these people, but you're not using it. And then you get mad when, people don't like your stuff. They don't share it and they don't comment. You don't like your own stuff. You don't comment on your own stuff. You don't share your own stuff with the people so why are you mad at people for not doing the thing that you won't do yourself? It's never made any sense to me.
Wow, I didn't want you to come in here and yell at me or all of that. My goodness. Just add for your feedback and you just aired me out like that. Goodness gracious, Lord.
It's like, it's the practical things that don't cost money, right? It doesn't cost anything but a little attention and time. And if you do these things, you'd be surprised how much further your content will go and how much better received it'll be and how much more profitable the time that you're putting in will become.
Yeah. So I think that is a hard lesson that everybody learns along the way, because depending on what area of expertise or schooling or career people go into, marketing is something that is not usually woven into your education. So learning this bit has been a huge learning curve for me. So, Aries. So when you talked about sharing your own crap, is that I do this podcast. I have too. And for me to get to a point that I was okay with these being posted, I had to be threatened by a friend to not watch my stuff because I want it to be like so. You understand? His communication to me is that you're doing great. Like I hear people you talk to in enclosed spaces. You need to be heard on a global scale. Stop it. So I used to record things and delete it. So it wasn't until recently that I started reposting things from my podcast page. And granted, I'm not one to like the virality of things, but I have seen slow increase in growth in people being interested in the topics. So I am still not 100% there with sharing my stuff because, again, is that cold outreach? That there's something about that doesn't feel comfortable to me.
Yeah. Well, because it's your ego.
Sir.
We were supposed to be real, right? I mean, I could pussyfoot around, but
No,
I'm
go ahead.
telling you,
I
and I'm
need it.
telling you because I'm talking to myself, right?
Yes.
I own a marketing company, and
Yeah.
until the last year, I
Yeah.
haven't really posted much for my company or for myself,
Right.
right? Because I was worried about what my clients think, what my family's going to think. What if I post this video and it's not high quality and they're
Yeah.
like, well, I wouldn't do business with you. Your video sucks,
Yeah.
right? And it's all of these what ifs that go in your head that keep you from taking action. And at the end of the day, yeah, your content is going to suck when you start. It just is. You're gonna suck at anything that you're starting for the first time. That's just part of the process, right?
Right.
But the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. And especially when it comes to friends and family, I think that's one of the harder things to do, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to impress them. You want them to see that you've grown up and you've made it. But family is family, right? Friends are friends. They're going to say something,
Right.
right? You could win an Oscar or a Grammy or be heralded as the best entrepreneur that ever lived, right? One cousin or sibling is going to hit you in the ribs and be like, you ain't, like it's just the way they are, right?
Right.
So if you're not willing to publish things because you're worried about what they're going to say, even if you do everything right, they're still going to say something. Well, who cares, right?
Right.
And I think that the great thing that we overlook is the positives that come from the criticism. You should be sharing stuff with your friends and family, the people that are closest to you, before you share it with anybody. And I'm not saying share it with them before you publish it. I'm saying put it out and give it to them first.
Right.
Like as soon as it drops, put it in the family chat, because auntie's going to be like, well, you spelled such and such wrong. You're like, oh, actually, I didn't. Thank you, auntie. Cool. Let me get that together real quick. Right. Use them as your editing and your filter, your quality assurance
Right.
team, right? Because they care about you more than anybody. So yeah, you just got to do it and use these people to your advantage, because some of them don't want to see you win because, it makes them feel bad that they're not doing as much. But most of them do want you to win. They want to say, that's my cousin on stage. You see them on TV? That's my cousin. Like, see, look, here's a picture. It's me and my cousin. That's me, right? So publish often, publish frequently, and communicate with your people and use them, to help you go farther.
Absolutely. That's great advice. I'm definitely going to put that into practice. The bucket of business cards, I don't know why you're snooping around my office, but okay. Let's not talk about that.
Well, and look, they have all those programs now. Just, you can get an app, take a picture, they go into a system. Actually, with Ignite Funnels, our system, we actually have a button inside of our CRM, the app. So you just hit the button, you take the picture, and it automatically uploads it into the CRM.
Beautiful. So let's talk about your agency. I know you kind of like give us a few little sprinkle. Just skipping information. That's it. Arias came here to keep information from us. Not fair, but that's cool. I'll get it out of him. So when it comes to when a company that works with you, let's talk about the smaller businesses, not the big shiny stuff. A lot of people do struggle with, I want to talk about the e-commerce and end of things, right? So there was a time during the pandemic that dropshipping was the thing, right? And that seems to have fizzled. There are people that are doing it and successful. So what is the difference between those people who are super successful with that model of business, the people that are unsuccessful?
What I just said, it's failure, right? Most people don't have a high tolerance for risk. And with drop shipping, all the gurus on YouTube and Instagram tell you, oh, yeah, I'm 19 years old and here's my Lambo. I bought it and I just started, last week. I made $40 million. It's only been 7 days, but there's risk in it, and you have to have a risk tolerance. So when you get into something like drop shipping or e-commerce, if you are in a business where you have to hold inventory,
Mm.
it's high risk, high stake,
Right.
because whatever you have may not sell.
Right.
And you need to, when you're going into this business and you're making your plans, you have to account for your losses. Everybody always thinks, oh, this is going to sell immediately. This is going to be great. So they're going to give me a discount. So I'm going to buy 10,000 of them.
Mm.
Pump your brakes, bro. How about you buy 10, not 10,000, buy 10. Start small and test. You need to realize that everything that you produce is not going to win. So if you take that into consideration and you say, hey, I'm going to try 10 products, and if I can get one or two of them to really take off and I can build my model and still be profitable with only having 2 hits and having 8 losses, well, then you're more likely to succeed. It's going into it, putting all your eggs into one basket, emptying your savings account and deciding that you're going to buy a garage full of Pampers and put them on Amazon and you're going to be rich. And then, you decide there's a recall on those Pampers and now your money's gone, right? Like you have to build in or account for failure when you're doing these businesses. And a lot of people lose. The guys that win know that they're going to lose and they try to adjust. That would be the biggest thing.
Yeah, I've had to learn that lesson hard. How does that translate into like service-based business and, offer-based business like coaching and things along that area?
Same thing with service-based, especially for coaches and consultants and stuff.
Right.
There are a lot of you. No matter what field you're in, there's somebody who's already doing some form of what you're doing, right? I hate to burst your bubble. I know you think that you have some brand new take on it.
Right.
It's a version of
this
something
one is
that someone's...
seasoned. It has a little sprinkle of seasoning on it. So it's different.
But you have to realize that. You have to realize that you are not a special snowflake and you're unique because one part of your snowflake is just a little crooked, right? That's it. So knowing that you are going to win if you niche down, right? So you're doing the same thing as Tony Robbins, but you're doing it specifically for women that are over 50.
Okay.
Right. It's more in your tribe, in your community and who you serve and your branding than you having some brand new innovative way of doing it. And if you focus on that, well, you'll bond people to you. And then the other thing is figuring out ways to increase your LTV, your lifetime value with your customers. So you have this one product, this one coaching, this one lesson or course. What are you doing to sell them the next thing?
Right.
Have you created something else? Either, hey, I've got one course and I'm going to get the second one. I'm going to sell you that. Or is there a tier above the one that you have that they can pay more in order to increase the amount of money that you're getting from each individual customer, their lifetime value? That's the thing that separates people. And it's also systems and automation. A lot of coaches and consultants are still doing a lot of manual work. And you're never going to scale to any significant amount of money if you don't have some level of automation and systems that are taking care of a lot of the busy work. If every time somebody wants to pay you, you have to go dig for your PayPal link, or you have to generate an invoice, but you're already losing because it's going to take you an hour to generate that invoice, right? They should be able to go fill out a form. It generates an invoice and sends it to them, or it just collects the payment right then and there. If you have to send them a contract instead of using something like DocuSign or in Ignite Funnels, we have an e-sign deal. If after you have to say, let me send you your course materials, let me send you access to the video, but you are behind. How many people can you send all of that stuff to in a day? That's like 2 to 3 hours of work. And then getting on the phone, did you get it? Were you able to log in? Well, no, it's check your spam. It can be in your spam. Like, nah, bro, how many people can you do that with a day? Like, if you can't do the thing that you're trying to sell 100 or 1,000 times in a day, then you're doing it wrong. And you need to get some systems in that take the heavy lifting of these mundane tasks off, because you need to get back to creating content and selling stuff. After you sell somebody, they need to instantly get your stuff. They need to instantly know how to access it. They need to instantly get a win. Because the other thing is, if you don't do those things, then people are going to have buyer's remorse, right? Oh, well, they said they were going to give it to me and it's been 2 days. Yeah. Or it's not because you didn't want to send it, but you were sick or you were out of town or whatever, right? You have to build your business for scale, and you have to make sure that you deliver on the promises, and you need to do it instantly.
Absolutely. I agree. And for people that have listened to you and will be interested in working with you, Aries, could you let us know where to find you, where to find your business, what the process is like? Because given that your customer base is pretty wide and is beautiful, that you're not chasing the shiny and, the boring businesses who are happy to do business every day are the clients that you're looking to bring in. Please let them know how they can find you. And for business that hasn't had that automation process already, but wants to have a competitive edge, just bring them in on how that happens when they actually come to work with you.
I have 3 businesses mainly, and they cover all of these different things. I'll try to run through them without confusing people. So the one that's on the screen, launchignition.ai. So www.launchignition.ai. That's our entrepreneurship program. It's pretty awesome in that it's a software that has AI built into it that helps you get your business idea or sequence out of your head on paper and out into the market. It asks you questions. It helps you develop products and materials to help market and move your business forward. It also comes with some coaching. So you get one-on-one coaching. And we also have weekly accountability calls and coaching. There's a whole library of videos and resources and stuff for entrepreneurship that you get access to. Yeah. So you can go there, set a meeting, we'll talk and see if we can help. If you're looking specifically for some automation, if your business is already going, but you feel like you are that person that is having trouble with all that manual stuff, you're like, I'm not a computer person and I'd love to get some automation in my life, then Ignite Funnels is probably the best thing that you could possibly have. It's an all-in-one business management and marketing system. So it's a drag and drop website builder. So we've got well over 2,000 templates for websites and sales funnels. It is email marketing, text marketing, payment processing. So whether you have an e-commerce brand and you sell products, or if you work one-to-one and you need to send out invoices, you can do all that in there. We work with all major payment processors. You can send out emails in mass, hundreds of thousands, millions, or you can just send a one-to-one email to customers and have a conversation in text. It has a whole bunch of other stuff in there that we don't have enough time to go over. But if you want more information about that, you can go to ignitefunnels.com. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff and you're like, hey, man, I don't have the time, but I got a little money. Right. I would like you to do it for me. Right. Well, then our agency will welcome you with open arms. We will do all of that stuff for you. You just come to us and we will help you build a website. We will run ads for you. We will get you on TV. Whatever your budget can support, we can help you do. My staff is amazing. We have a huge team that is all things marketing. That's WebsterBerry Marketing. You can go to websterberry.com. And we've got all kinds of resources and stuff for free. And, again, you can also set up a meeting to talk with us.
Beautiful. Everything that was mentioned is going to be in the show notes because we want you to click and find it. We don't want you to try to remember how to spell, WebsterBerry or was that Ignite? Was the lunch before Ignite? What was that? Right?
Exactly.
We're going to provide all of that. So you just click into it and get on with your life, find whatever services that works for you. Do you offer consultation?
Yeah. So for Launch Ignition, we do kind of a demo. I think there's an automated demo on the site.
Okay.
But you can also meet with one of our team members on the WebsterBerry marketing side. We definitely do consultations in order to, kind of see where you are and what you might need.
Okay, great. So again, you heard it here, consultation so that you actually understand what your needs are. They understand what your needs are. So your service and your package can be tailored to you and your business. So Arias, this was a great conversation. I learned quite a bit. You yelled at me. I didn't call for that, but okay, here we are. I'm learning. I'm coachable. I take it. Cool. That's fine. Okay. Thank you. Something that I usually ask of my guests before we wrap up completely is to drop a few golden nuggets. You said a lot. You dropped like a mountain load of nuggets here. So what would you like to tell a listening audience, be it entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, or entrepreneurs that are looking to reinvent their businesses and themselves?
I'm always the odd one. So I'm going to say you can definitely do anything that you put your mind to. You can achieve anything that you are willing to sacrifice for. But I will say, make sure that it's something that you want to sacrifice for before you get started, right? Make sure that this is something that you truly want and this isn't a vanity project. And if it is, treat it as such, right? Your goals need to match your hustle. So make sure that you have a reason why you're doing this. Make sure that you've understood that it's going to take a lot more in time, money, and energy than you could possibly ever imagine at this point. And if you don't reach the goals that you want in the time that you want, that's okay. Just keep going, keep pushing. I have been homeless. I have filed for bankruptcy at one time early in my life. I've lost friends and family members and all those different things. But what I've always stayed true to is my passion for my business and for my clients. And it's because I really enjoy it. And if I can get through those things, you definitely can, because they say you can never beat a man that never quits. Oof. So be that man or woman. Keep going, keep forging ahead, and the universe or whoever you pray to will bless you.
Oh my God. Okay, so you yelled at me and then you made me feel better. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's my style.
I love it. Oh my goodness, that was a word. I asked for nuggets and Mr. Arias over here came over here preaching. Yes, please, 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 please keep going. Let your grit and determination be your guiding light. And, the universe and God, whoever you pray to, like you said, has a way of aligning you in where you need to be. So keep on going. Thank you, Arias, for being here. We'll put everything in the show notes so you can find Mr. Arias and all of his businesses, and you can see which one works for you and which one speaks to you and your business. Thank you, everybody. Take care of yourself. Keep going. Don't stop. All right. Thank you, Arias. I appreciate you being here. I'm very grateful.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to Abeg Vex Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.